Hi everyone, it's live with Mercy and Rita, and we have 4 special guests this week, and Rita here is going to introduce each one of them.
Thank you guys for joining us. Today we are going to be speaking to Sue Deloria from Keller Williams, also Billy Jalbert from the Maui Real Estate team, Ken Smith from Coldwell Banker Island Properties, and Josh Jerman from Hawaii Life Real Estate Brokers. Thank you guys for joining us. We are going to start with Mr. Jalbert. So Billy Jalbert has been licensed since 2000. He is going to be experiencing his 3rd economic cycle here on Maui. He's the broker and owner of the Maui Real Estate team, has been a board member to PY Paia Youth Community Center for 18 solid years. And I remember when you actually joined the industry, I just heard about this Silicon Valley tech guy who bought the domain name MauiRealEstate.com. And I just remember that back in the 2000s. So Billy, during this time, oh, and you also were top 100 in the state of Hawaii with Hawaii Business Journal. Share with us what you're doing these days and what you're thinking about the market.
Reading, sleeping, surfing, no, I wish. Definitely a little bit of a change of the program, but I have been coming to the office since everybody else is social distancing, and my kids are in school and my wife is working from home. So it's kind of working pretty nicely that I can come into the office. We have been working hard at preserving current deals for the most part over the last several weeks. And that has been priority number 1. We've had a few listing conversations, which has been interesting. And we'll be listing at least 1 more property within the next week or so. And we've had some clients who have been making offers. And, you know, beyond that, it's just communicating with existing clients, especially the ones that just moved here, kind of checking in and seeing how they're doing, talking to industry colleagues, and then Zoom calls with friends on the mainland and lots of family time.
You lost any deals due to COVID-19?
I have not lost an escrow. Interestingly enough, I've had a buyer who I've been literally working with for 2 years, and we've been looking for something very, very specific. And we found it. It wasn't on the market yet. We made a very aggressive cash offer, and the sellers just decided that they don't want to sell. They're kind of in that, I don't know whether it's, you know, they're in a bit of an emotional panic or what exactly is going on. They're stuck on the mainland, and they just decided, no, we're not going to take it. And let's just say we were all disappointed because it was a super aggressive offer, particularly in light of the market. And we're just kind of sitting tight and looking for other alternatives.
Do you get a lot of calls on your listings?
Not a whole lot of calls on listings right now. A couple of vultures out there, you know, hey, we'll give you this cash for that. And, you know, not a ton, but we put a piece of land under contract literally within 3 days of it being listed about 10 days ago. And again, we've had a few calls and people are still asking questions, but a lot of it's just curiosity. You know, they're, hey, what's going on? What's happening in Maui? What's happening with the market? And, you know, right now I've got a pretty standard response, which is it's really too early to tell. We're certainly giving people statistics on what's happened with new escrows and listings. But beyond that, I mean, if anybody can tell me what's the Maui real estate market's going to be looking like in 6 months, fantastic, but I won't believe you.
You know, it's interesting. You're saying that you're working with some buyers. So what do you say to your buyers about offering the price-wise for value of property? Can you share with us that?
Well, it was really interesting because the one buyer has this really very, very mature point of view about it. And she basically, because I was the one kind of pushing the brakes, and she quoted a famous friend of hers and said, there's some real estate that you buy for investment and there's some real estate you buy to live in. And this is real estate for me to live in. And so again, I mean, I cannot believe the sellers wouldn't accept the offer. I mean, but I also, I guess I understand. I mean, people are pretty unsettled by this whole thing, and you know, who knows? Maybe we'll get the property for much less money in 6 months. Maybe we'll pay the same. Maybe we'll pay more. Who knows?
Or maybe they realize that they really think their Maui property is very valuable right now.
No, they're definitely. I mean, according to their agent, they're sellers.
Oh, really?
So it's just a matter of when. And I think, you know, some of it was just some logistics of, geez, how do we get home and move our stuff and everything else? And so our second offer was pretty open-ended. It was, you know, hey, we're willing to do a much later close. We're willing to do a long extension if necessary. We tried to be super accommodating. And then, you know, the other side, the listing side, we have definitely pulled a few listings that we were getting ready to list. And, you know, that just is kind of the nature of the beast right now.
So you're just waiting. It's a pause.
Yeah. Yep.
You guys have any questions for Mr. Billy? Thanks, Billy. We're going to start with Sue Deloria next, who is has been licensed since 2000. She's an ABR and an ePro broker. She is the founding co-member of the Sophie Deloria Foundation in honor and loving memory of her daughter, Sophie, who is an exquisite and enthusiastic swimmer. She is also your regional West Maui director for West Maui this year. Sue, what are you doing during this time for your buyers and your sellers and yourself?
Staying in contact. I've been fortunate, had 2 escrows just opened, just one today and one on Thursday. Both buyers I've been working with. One more recently, one was a 2-year contact. The one recently had been here literally 2 months ago. Found a property. They're in New York at the moment, and this is going to be their second home, and they're excited to move forward. So we just opened escrow with Fidelity National Title this morning, so that's good. Yeah. And then seller-wise, we did have initially quite a number of our sellers that we took the property off the market. We're basically resting them. We didn't want to add to the days on market, so we have taken a number of our higher end listings off the market. And again, it's just a stall. You know, we'll see. We're sort of doing a 30-day reset. And again, once we come to the end of this month, we'll see how the market is and if we want to go forward with putting those back on or wait a little bit longer. But I mean, sellers from all over the country, and you know, you're talking to them on a daily basis and just advising them on what's happening here, what they're doing, what we're doing, and how we're all getting through being quarantined. So yeah, it's been good to connect with a lot of people.
Can I ask you, how are you going to handle your final walkthrough for your client in New York?
Well, I did a final walkthrough. We just closed on a master's a week and a bit ago, and both myself and the agent were there. Did a video FaceTime. Both of us had our masks and our gloves on, and made it quick. You know, went in, did our final walkthrough, and were able to record it and send it to the buyer. And that was suffice, and signed off on it.
Question about farming, because I know that you guys, you and your team farm a lot. Are you still farming these days?
We are electronically farming. We've kind of put a little bit of a hold on our advertising as far as our paper advertising, but definitely, you know, electronically still connecting as we usually do on a monthly basis with all of our database. And interestingly enough, still getting quite a number of people signing up for our newsletter, which is great. You know, a lot of people are at home and online and checking things out. So, you know, definitely interest there, and a lot of, like I say, new people coming to our newsletter, which is great.
West Maui, how's the activity there as far as pendings? It's been 13 days, you guys, of bid month. There have been 18 new escrows for the entire island versus last year for April in total, we had 271. So it's about just 6% of the deals right now. So are you guys active in pendings over there in West Maui?
We are active in pendings. I mean, I know from myself personally, I have 5 pending and we're all delayed. 4 of them for COVID reasons. One of them is a title issue and we're working through that, but they were all supposed to close this month and now we're stalled till next month. One, I have a buyer who's, he's an American citizen, but he's in Canada and he's stuck there. He can't get across the border to sign his escrow documents and his mortgage documents. So we're on hold until the border opens up again or the consulate will allow him to go in and sign. So just unique situations. And again, we managed to negotiate an extension with the seller, and you know, everyone's got to be a little more flexible in this type of market, and you know, work
Can
together.
I ask you, the lender, was there a rate lock? Have you guys heard of any lenders easing up on rate locks at all?
I've not heard. It's a local lender, and we are asking absolutely for extenuating circumstances and an extension to that rate lock.
We've got a guy who's going to close Thursday, and he did get a rate lock extension. It was with a credit union, but they were actually super understanding, and it was interesting because you know how the rates went. You know, they kind of did the huge skyrocket for a while there, and they're starting to trend back down. But they gave him his ridiculous rate, which is like he's paying 2.78 or something on a 30-year fixed. He paid a couple of points, but it's just crazy. And you know, we'll end up closing. It'll be more than 60 days at the end of the day when we close. So.
Were they charged additional fees for the extension of the rate lock?
They were not charged additional fees.
Have you guys experienced any issues with appraisers about getting in or not wanting to get in, or the owners not letting them in?
No.
No, I haven't.
We've experienced some low appraisals, but
not no appraisals.
Getting in.
All right, I'm just wondering how that was on that end.
Any questions for Sue, you guys?
Yeah, Susan, you commented that you had a Canadian client who has been unable to sign closing documents because of not being able to get into a consulate or across the border. We had a similar situation in the last 3 weeks that just got resolved this week. And the way that it was resolved was having the client, they meet with a barrister, and they were able to sign in Canada, and the Bureau accepted their documents. And we had a buyer and seller who were both Canadian on this transaction. So we were, I mean, up in the air for 3 weeks, not sure how to close. Fortunately, it was a Canadian on each side of the deal. And so they were both in the same boat. So we were extending, but just to where, yeah, closing documents were signed on Friday, and it funded today, and is now going to record on Thursday of this week.
Right.
So I can send Mercy and Rita what the details of that were, if that's helpful. But there is a way to get it done, and it just came up about, I think, Tuesday of last week or so, when the Bureau figured out the solution.
And the Bureau does have to review each document first too. So it's a little more process, I think, for the Bureau, but we can definitely share with you a little bit more afterwards.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Okay, Ken Smith. Ken has been licensed since 1991. He got his license, you guys, after the Gulf War broke out and the Japanese fled Hawaii market for about 5 years. You are going to be in your 3rd economic cycle, and you've been a top 100 Hawaii Business Journal agent in the state for about 8 years. Share with us. Now, here's the thing with Ken, has sold forever, and then probably the past 2 or 3 years has gone, put his efforts mostly on buying and renovating and flipping his own properties. So Ken, talk to us about what you're doing at this time and what you're sharing with your clients.
Actually, it was around 2012, 13 that I started doing flips for myself. And I did probably, I don't know, 13, 14 very successful flips, condos, some homes, anything from like about 200 to 900, mostly under $1 million. are all under $1 million. So that's been my focus. I still do real estate. I'm fortunate to have my son and daughter-in-law that work with me, Greg and Melissa. And so they've picked up a lot of the slack for me focusing my efforts in a different direction.
Talk to everyone about, because I know that most of your business comes from referrals. How do you stay in touch with them? Because I know there are a lot of newer agents who just think that social media is the way to stay in touch with them, but what do you do that you can just share with others?
Well, we use social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. I have accounts on all three, and you know that we've been doing a weekly newsletter religiously since 2002. I think we might have missed 2 weeks in that entire time. And that goes out to a couple thousand of our past clients, people we've met at open houses, anybody who's found our website and signed up for our newsletter. Sometimes we don't know exactly where, but you know, somehow they've opted in. And so that's one of the ways we keep in touch with our past clients is through that, because yeah, it's difficult. That's probably one thing that I would say that I could have done a lot better, and that's keeping better in touch with my past clients. But you know, when you get super busy, sometimes things fall through the cracks. I mean, 2005 was our banner year. We had 95 transactions, 55 million in sales, and you know, I was just trying to keep up with everything. You know, just pretty much writing contracts and closing escrows. So yeah, so we've been fortunate to have a lot of clients, past clients, contact us and have been loyal. We've lost some too, because I've lost contact with some of the people. So that's where I felt maybe I could have done a little bit better staying in touch with them, but you know, did my best.
You know, I know that you've opened a couple of escrows with buyers recently. How are you advising them with offer prices?
Well, pretty much we take the lead from them, you know. I mean, we send them the comps, and let's see, in one of the cases, it was the Kapalua Bay Villas condo. He had just closed a couple weeks earlier on a Wailea Kahi, and he said, yeah, I'm in the market to buy more condos, and I like the price on this one. So we made an offer, it was accepted, we're in escrow. Speaking of appraisals, I'm kind of surprised the appraisal hasn't come in, because they did their inspection on April 4th, and you'd think in this time that appraisers aren't that busy, but we're still waiting on the appraisal on that one. So yeah, you know, if they ask our opinion, we'll advise them, but you know, I hate to give somebody advice on a price, and then later I've seen where it can come back to bite you. You know, you say, well, I think you should offer this price, and then somebody comes in a little bit higher and beats you out. So I like the client to have the major input on that.
And what are you telling your sellers right now? Because you have listings, yes?
Yeah, we just listed 8 condos from the same seller, who you might think, well, gee, did the guy panic? Is he selling everything? Well, actually, he's not selling everything, but he's selling quite a bit of his inventory of condos here on Maui, because he's buying a hotel in Texas. So he's just trying to raise some capital. I told him that, again, I sent him all the comps. I said, in this market, you cannot go by what is active. You cannot even go by what is sold, because we're in a different market. You have to, if you really want to sell, you have to get ahead of the market and price below the last sale. And sometimes a little bit below, sometimes a lot below, depending on the condition of your unit. In some cases, we priced higher, but it was mostly, we priced very aggressively. These are all vacation condos that are sitting vacant right now, so easy to show.
Wow.
Are you getting calls?
we actually have gotten calls, and we've actually done some showings. We showed Kihei Kainani today. We got a call to show Papakea Resort. I don't know if you saw that little interruption on the screen that came up on my screen, but that was your brother Ray who was calling me. He's actually the agent for the fire. So hopefully he was able to get in. I gave him the authorization to get in.
Okay, any questions for Ken, you guys? Okay,
And
Mr.
we've got an offer too. We got an offer, but it was like Billy said, you know, the vultures are out there. So somebody, you know, we listed Kamali Sands at $499, which is lowest price. Great deal. And of course, somebody came in and offered less, and the seller said, "Oh, I knew it. We priced too low." I said, "No, you didn't price too low. You priced just right. We're getting activity. That's what you want to see. You want to see offers. You can't negotiate if you don't have an offer."
Okay, thank you. Josh Jerman, he has been raised on Maui. He's licensed in 2004, so he's going to be experiencing his second economic cycle. He's a broker as an affiliate with Christie's affiliate. Realtor of the Year last year, Pacific Business News Top 40 Under 40, 2012 Business Person of the Year, Hawaii Business Journal Top 100 in the state of Hawaii since 2013, and you and your beautiful wife, the Josh and Sue Jerman Foundation, which I remember you starting that when you entered the business, and literally I thought, has he even closed a deal yet? He's giving away money. I remember that back when you were licensed. Share with us what you're telling your clients and what you're thinking about the market, please.
No, thanks, Rita. Yeah, I mean, all the calls that I've had with my clients the past couple of weeks have all been check-in calls. I mean, it's just people that I'd often just interact with real briefly on the fly and all business. And it's been personal calls. It's been, I mean, asking where they are, what they're doing, how they're doing. And I rarely took the time to make those calls these last several years. And it's felt good to do that. And I've been trying to do that a couple hours a day, just in a really focused way. And then anytime I go out for a drive to do something essential, I'll usually also make one of those calls along that way as well. I have a new trick too. I'm now carrying a beach towel everywhere I drive. So I'm always going to the beach to exercise. So I just walked in the house just before this call, and the beach towel is sitting there on the seat. And additionally, I mean, I'm sort of viewing this time as a chance to really build up my business in the ways that I've wanted my business to be. I've been reactionary for pretty much going on 10 years, and haven't put much thought in the business planning or paid much attention to my database. And so this is the first time where there's just a reset there, to where it's like the great grounding. It's like I'm home, I'm in front of a computer, and the phone isn't ringing. There aren't more calls in a day than I can possibly return. And so I can sit there and then call the people who I want to call. And I'm really grateful for that. There've also been some milestones too that I've been conscious of. One is, and this happened almost 2.5 weeks ago now, but it was the first time in 6 years of living in the house where I am, where I'd spent 2 consecutive days in the house in a row. Hadn't done that since moving in. I'd spent Christmas at home before. I'd spent a few days here and there, a few Sundays, but I never spent 2 days in a row. And that really felt good. Also took the first walk with my dog and my wife that we've ever done. And so we walked our dog down the gulch, down the Haiku Road, and we've never taken our dog for a walk together before. So I had a chance to do that, which was nice. And then we're going on now 13 days straight where I've been to the beach every afternoon or sunset with my kids. And that's been great. And we were there again last night, and planning to do the same thing again this evening. Rain or shine, we've been going down and exercising and swimming and spending time with each other. So I've been grateful for that. So yeah, it's been, there are definitely some really good aspects of what we've been forced into now that I think we're seeing come out of this.
How many listings do you have right now?
I think 56.
That's it?
And,
Oh my gosh. How do you service?
and so, and we may have scaled back a few. I know we pulled with the client's input and approval. I think we pulled 4 or 5 from the market that were tenant occupied properties or that had higher days on market, just to do a reset and then to reevaluate. And those listings come with a caveat. I mean, there's 32 of them that are all associated with the project. And of those 32, there are 11 that are pending. And so it's not, I guess it is 56, but then it's not really 56 separate sellers in that one of the sellers is a developer. And then in the past 2 weeks, I think we've closed 4 or 5 sales that were in escrow. We've retained, we have 4 or so that are still pending, plus all the project sales, but we've lost 2. So we lost one for a seller that was at the very end of the deal, less than 10 days from closing, where a buyer was out of contingencies. And it was an unfortunate situation for both sides. And then we lost 1 buyer escrow where our buyer client was still within a contingency time frame and has used that to then cancel, although it's being questioned and challenged by the seller, even though the contract contingency was black and white. I haven't put a new sale in the contract in 3+ weeks now, which I was telling Bill the other day that that's been the longest span in 10 years of not putting a deal into escrow. And so it's been 3 weeks, kind of going on 3.5 now since we opened escrow on something new. So that's an adjustment. Yeah.
I'm sorry, are you working with a lot of buyers right now actively though? Showing
we're talking to a handful of buyers, but they aren't writing contracts. And so it's been just, monitoring the market. And then lots of discussion and sort of projections that the short-term rental condos are going to come down in price. And so I have some buyers who are convinced that that is going to happen. And so we're just watching pricing and seeing what is going pending, which there isn't much of, sort of anticipating that the short-term rental condo market may come down. And we've also had a couple of, or 3 leads from what I'm referring to as billionaire refugees. I mean, these are people from crowded cities in the mainland. One flew out here almost a month ago now on their jet, and they were escaping the city that they were in. And they brought their 80-plus-year-old dad, their kids, and came here because they love Maui, and it was the most remote place that they could think of where they felt safe. And so we've had some leads on their sort of ultra high end into the market for people who are in cities who are seeing Maui as a safe place. And knock on wood, one of those leads may be writing a contract this week. There's a draft contract out, but we'll see if it comes together.
Well, you have listings that are like from this end to this end. Are you getting any calls, or are you getting more calls more on the higher end? Just because I would think that you get cash deals.
More calls on the higher end. Yeah, certainly. I mean, more real calls on the high end. And yeah, not a whole lot else. We are getting some calls on the project from Pukalani, and we have some sort of new interest in infusing in people who are looking at buying homes for their children. And I think it was mentioned earlier on the call that it's like people are looking at where they're going to live and where home is. And the calls that have been coming in on more of the entry projects are family members who are seeing themselves helping out their children get into homes, because we're seeing how important home is with all this time that we're spending at home. And these families may also want their kids out of the house too, or not coming home in a situation like this. And so they may be helping them along, but it is with some down payment assistance. And so there is some loving care there too.
You're like, this staying home together, maybe I do need to help buy you home. For
Yeah.
sure.
I've experienced these cycles. So I'm going to ask each one of you if you can give one piece of advice to someone who has not experienced an economic cycle, the best practice professionally right now, if you don't mind. We'll start with Sue. Just one piece of advice, having gone through cycles, what's the one thing that you want to share with agents that they
keep working, keep your momentum going, keep your own, mindset, that, this is a market, it's cyclical, and you just got to keep working. Don't give up.
Billy?
Sue's spot on. There's always going to be buyers and there's always going to be sellers. I mean, that's the nature of a market. And I would pay close attention to the statistics and follow your client's lead. They're gonna ask a lot of questions and provide them with the information and the data. Most of them are big boys and big girls who are pretty smart people. And they're going to come to their own conclusions. But at the end of the day, this is a business about the basics, blocking and tackling. And I think if people keep at it and stay in touch with folks that were looking, stay in touch with folks that were thinking of selling, they will come around, and be ready to pick up the speed when that comes, because nobody knows where this is going to end up. It's pretty much unprecedented. There's lots of pundits that think lots of things, and I just say they're all much smarter than me, because I have no idea where this is going to go. But I know there will be opportunity one way or another.
Ken?
Yeah, I would ditto what Billy and Sue said. Just keep doing what you've been doing that's successful for you, that you enjoy doing. And yeah, I've been through 3 of them and found that sometimes these down cycles can be sources of some of the best business if you stick to your plan, because a lot of agents will just get down and get glum. And if you, I'll give you an example. I got my license in 1991, and the Gulf War broke out, and Japanese stopped coming to Maui. For those of you who weren't around at that time, we were pretty much order takers in the late 80s. At least that's what I heard, because I wasn't licensed then. But it was more somebody came and said, I want to buy this, and you wrote it up. Well, a lot of those agents got lazy, and they didn't want to do the open houses. They didn't want to do the cold calling or door knocking. So having just gotten licensed in 1991, I did all those things that some of the agents didn't want to do. And I actually was quite successful right from the get-go. So just keep your head down, like Sue said, and you'll be fine. We'll get through this.
Thank you. Josh?
Yeah, I think staying focused on the people you care about, and those who also care about you, and those who are good referral sources. I mean, you can keep a relationship going or further develop a relationship with someone in a business or line of work who has the ability to send multiple referrals. And so those people are key coming out of this: attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors, because there's multiple potential sales behind that one person. And so build those relationships, keep working, stay focused, let other people do all the negative talking, and there will be plenty of agents out there who will be doom and gloom and complaining about how few deals they have or where the market's going or how could anyone possibly buy now because of where this is headed. Let them do that talking, and it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy for them. We'll come out of this with less agents in the market. And those that are here will have been focusing on their skills and perfecting their craft, and also just doing good, honest, ethical work with their clients and then with others in the real estate community as well.
I heard a broker share with their agents to don't even bother farming right now during this time. Would you all agree that that's probably not the correct answer?
Yes.
Yeah, keep farming.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
keep farming, watch expenses. I mean, that's something that is different for me on this market cycle than it was on the last one. And that last time I probably went, 18 months too deep into it before I cut back expenses. And so this time, certainly being conscious earlier as to where money's going out.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. You guys have any questions for each other before we end today? All right, well, thank you guys again so much for your time and all your insights and sharing. And stay well, you guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Nice to see you guys all.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you guys. Miss you guys.
Bye.
You
Bye.
well.
Bye.